The Texas Department of Transportation welcomes you to the US 82 west of Clarksville project and the US 82 east of Clarksville project in-person public meetings with a virtual option. We appreciate your interest in the proposed projects and thank each of you for your participation. Please note, for those viewing the virtual public meeting, you can pause this presentation at any point to allow more time to view the slides or to get more detailed view of the project's designs and other exhibits on the website. My name is Dan Perry, and I serve as the Director of Transportation Planning and Development for the TxDOT Paris District. These in-person public meetings with a virtual option are being provided to share information and to encourage comments from the public regarding the proposed US 82 west of Clarksville project and the US 82 east of Clarksville project. This presentation and other documents are available online and can be viewed or downloaded by visiting the virtual public meeting. To access the virtual public meeting, go to TxDOT's website at www.txdot.gov. I will now pass the presentation over to Consultant Environmental Scientist Cherish Anderson with HAF.
November 7th, 2000 was the last deathless day on roadways in Texas. That means for almost 23 years, at least one person has died every single day. We all have a part to play to change that. This message is that reminder to each of us to end the streak of deaths on Texas highways. We need drivers and passengers to act more responsibly and help us reach our goal of 0 deaths by 2050. Texans can play a major role in ending fatal crashes with a few simple driving habits. Wear seatbelts, drive the speed limit, put away the phone and other distractions, and never drive under the influence of alcohol or drugs. So please, do your part and share this message with your friends and family. This public meeting has been convened by TxDOT and is being held to receive and consider comments from the public regarding the US 82 west of Clarksville project and the US 82 east of Clarksville project. 2 in-person public meetings were previously conducted for the US 82 west of Clarksville project and the US 82 east of Clarksville project in January and February of 2020. Comments received at those meetings were taken into consideration. An evaluation matrix was developed to compare the 3 alternatives, A, B, and C, shown at the 2020 public meetings. The amount of right-of-way acquisition, community and socioeconomic impacts, environmental impacts, and project costs were calculated for each alternative. A combination of the 3 alternatives was used to create Alternative D, also referred to as the hybrid alternative. During this meeting, the Alternative D schematics for each project are being presented for additional public feedback. The 2 2020 public meetings also included information regarding the US 82 Clarksville Loop project, connecting the US 82 west of Clarksville project and the US 82 east of Clarksville project. An additional virtual public meeting was conducted in August 2020 for the US 82 Clarksville Loop project. Environmental studies and schematic development have now been completed for this project, and environmental clearance is anticipated later this year. 2 in-person public meetings are being held on the proposed US 82 west of Clarksville and US 82 east of Clarksville projects to obtain feedback from the public on the preferred alternatives. The same information is available at the in-person and virtual meetings. All information presented in this presentation and additional project materials can be accessed by going to the virtual public meeting. To access the virtual public meeting, go to TxDOT's website at www.TxDOT.gov. Then search for the Hearings and Meetings page in the keyword search. This public meeting is being held in compliance with both federal and state laws. Documentation of this meeting will be made available for the official record. The US 82 west of Clarksville project limits are from West Division Street in Blossom to the Business 82 and State Highway, or SH, 37 Junction in Clarksville. The total project length is approximately 20.2 miles, and the project is located in Lamar and Red River counties, Texas. The project is located within the cities of Blossom, Detroit, and Clarksville. The US 82 east of Clarksville project limits are from Farm to Market Road, or FM 114, east of Clarksville, to the Red River County and Bowie County line. The total project length is approximately 16.8 miles, and the project is located in Red River County, Texas. The project is located within the cities of Avery and Annona. The purpose of the proposed project is to improve safety, mobility, and regional connectivity, manage congestion, and address roadway deficiencies. The proposed improvements are needed because the existing roadway facility within the project limits does not currently meet design criteria or future traffic needs. The projects are also needed for overall continuity with recommendations from the US 82 Texas Corridor Study. The same existing typical section applies to both the US 82 west of Clarksville and US 82 east of Clarksville project corridors. The existing US 82 roadway is comprised of two 12-foot wide general-purpose main lanes, including one eastbound lane and one westbound lane, with 10-foot wide outside shoulders. Eastbound and westbound main lanes are undivided. Existing drainage consists of roadside ditches. Typical right-of-way width varies from 125 to 225 feet. The same proposed typical sections apply to both the US 82 west of Clarksville and US 82 east of Clarksville project corridors. In general, the proposed design would widen the existing US 82 facility to four 12-foot wide general-purpose main lanes, including two eastbound and two westbound lanes. In rural areas, the eastbound and westbound main lanes would be separated by a grass median ranging from 44 to 68 feet in width, with 4-foot wide inside shoulders and 10-foot wide outside shoulders. Drainage would consist of roadside ditches. Minimum right-of-way width would be 224 feet. For the US 82 west of Clarksville project corridor, the 4-lane rural highway typical section is proposed from 0.6 mile east of Detroit city limits to 1.2 miles west of Clarksville city limits. For the US 82 east of Clarksville project corridor, the 4-lane rural highway typical section is proposed from west of Clarksville city limits to 1.4 miles east of Annona city limits, and from Annona city limits to Avery city limits. In suburban areas, the proposed design would widen the existing US 82 facility into a 5-lane arterial with four 12-foot wide general-purpose main lanes, including two eastbound and two westbound lanes, a 16-foot wide continuous left turn lane, and 10-foot wide outside shoulders. Drainage would consist of roadside ditches. Minimum right-of-way width would be 154 feet. For the US 82 west of Clarksville project corridor, the continuous left turn lane suburban arterial typical section is proposed from 0.3 miles east of County Road 44920 to Grizzle Lane, and from 1.2 miles west of Clarksville city limits to Clarksville city limits. For the US 82 east of Clarksville project corridor, the continuous left turn lane suburban arterial typical section is proposed from 1.4 miles west of Annona city limits to Winona city limits, and from east of Avery city limits to Bowie County. In some urban areas, the proposed design would widen the existing US 82 facility into a 5-lane arterial with 4 12-foot wide general-purpose main lanes, including 2 eastbound and 2 westbound lanes, a 16-foot wide continuous left turn lane, 2-foot wide outside shoulders, and 6-foot wide sidewalks along both eastbound and westbound US 82. Drainage would consist of curb and gutter. Minimum right-of-way width would be 108 feet. For the US 82 west of Clarksville project corridor, the continuous left turn lane urban arterial typical section is proposed from west of Blossom city limits to Cherry Street, from FM 194 to 0.3 mile east of County Road 44920, from Grizzle Lane to 4th Northwest Street, from 0.13 mile east of East Latimer Street to 0.6 mile east of Detroit city limits, and from Clarksville city limits to the SH 37 and US 82 junction. For the US 82 east of Clarksville project corridor, the continuous left turn lane urban arterial typical section is proposed within Avery city limits. In the remaining urban areas, the proposed design would widen the existing US 82 facility into a divided 4-lane arterial with 4 12-foot wide general-purpose main lanes, including 2 eastbound and 2 westbound lanes, an 18-foot wide raised median, 2-foot wide outside shoulders, and 6-foot wide sidewalks along both eastbound and westbound US 82. In areas where the existing Northeast Texas Trail is adjacent to US 82, the trail would replace the proposed sidewalk to provide pedestrian accommodations. The raised median width would reduce to 6 feet to accommodate 12-foot wide left turn lanes at median breaks. Drainage would consist of curb and gutter. Typical right-of-way width would range from 123 to 174.5 feet. In areas where the existing Northeast Texas Trail is adjacent to US 82, an additional 50 to 58 feet of right-of-way would be required. This typical section is only proposed within the US 82 west of Clarksville project corridor, from Cherry Street to FM 194, and from 4th Northwest Street to 0.13 mile east of East Latimer Street. The US 82 west of Clarksville project and US 82 east of Clarksville project are anticipated to be ready to let in August 2032. Each project would take approximately 4 years to construct. The total estimated construction cost is $173.7 million and $153.8 million for each project. Both projects are currently unfunded for the construction and right-of-way acquisition phases. Prior to December 16, 2014, the Federal Highway Administration, or FHWA, received and approved documents prepared under the National Environmental Policy Act, known as NEPA. However, on December 14, 2014, the Texas Department of Transportation assumed responsibility from FHWA through a Memorandum of Understanding to review and approve certain assigned NEPA environmental documents. This Memorandum of Understanding between TxDOT and FHWA was updated on December 9, 2019. The review and approval process applies to these projects. Environmental studies are being conducted for the proposed US 82 west of Clarksville project and US 82 east of Clarksville project to support environmental clearance in accordance with NEPA. These environmental analyses are necessary to identify, avoid, and minimize effects to the human and natural environments. The technical environmental documentation is underway and will be approved for further processing by TxDOT and would be coordinated with other public agencies. Notices for this public meeting were advertised in the Paris News, on the TxDOT.gov website under Hearings and Meetings, and were mailed to adjacent property owners, elected and public officials, and project stakeholders. The Project Environmental Constraints Map is used to help planners and engineers at the outset of a roadway project to increase awareness of environmental constraints to help minimize potential project impacts while meeting the project purpose. The full-size constraints maps for both projects are available as displays at the in-person public meetings and can be viewed online through the virtual public meeting page. The major known constraints for the US 82 west of Clarksville project include primarily commercial, retail, and residential development, the Northeast Texas Trail, gas stations, stream, and floodplain crossings, cemeteries, and parks. Environmental studies for this project are ongoing. The major known constraints for the US 82 east of Clarksville project include predominantly commercial, retail, and residential development, the Northeast Texas Trail, gas stations, stream crossings, cemeteries, and parks. Environmental studies for this project are ongoing. The proposed US 82 west of Clarksville project would, subject to final design considerations, require approximately 144 acres of additional right-of-way and potentially displace one non-residential structure. The proposed US 82 east of Clarksville project would, subject to final design considerations, require approximately 190 acres of additional right-of-way and potentially displace 7 residences and 4 non-residential structures. All right-of-way acquisition would be completed in accordance with the Uniform Relocation Assistance and Real Property Acquisition Policies Act of 1970 as amended. The brochure titled The Purchase of Right-of-Way is available on the TxDOT.gov website. This material contains detailed information to inform you of your rights and provide information about the TxDOT right-of-way acquisition process. The public comment period for the proposed projects ends on Friday, July 28, 2023. Following this public meeting, the project designs will be refined per public input, and environmental studies will be developed. Public hearings will be held over the proposed projects in fall 2024. If there are no major issues from the environmental analysis that cannot be addressed in a reasonable time frame, final environmental clearance is expected in spring 2025 for both projects. Comments will be accepted in 4 ways, which are outlined here. All comments will be fully considered and responded to in the project record and made part of the environmental documentation for the proposed project. This document will then be made available for public review online on the project page. All statements, comments, and questions will be given careful consideration before the final design is completed. As a reminder, all comments must be received or postmarked by Friday, July 28, 2023, to be included in the official public meeting documentation. The public may also contact TxDOT Project Manager Daniel Taylor during regular office hours to ask questions about the project at any time during project development. Thank you. We sincerely appreciate your participation and interest concerning the proposed design of the US 82 west of Clarksville project and the US 82 east of Clarksville project. Your questions, comments, and concerns will receive careful consideration. Thank you. This concludes the presentation.